Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Your friend Dean Kulaweera here with Tech Recruiters 360. Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't feel shy. Feel free to introduce yourself in the comments. So every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time Zone, I'm right here to share with you. Well, usually I share with you my job search tips, advice, strategies, and a whole bunch of stuff. For those of you who are kind of fed up of hearing me speak all the time, you'll be happy to know that I have two fantastic guests with me today. Now, today's topic, folks, we're gonna be talking about the supply chain industry. All right. Now, I know a lot of you follow me. You might be IT professionals or tech professionals. Don't worry, we're not gonna not talk about tech today. We're gonna be talking about also part of the discussion today with my two amazing guests. We're going to be talking about opportunities for tech people within IT as well. But just overall, it's going to be a great discussion about this industry, why it's a great industry, and why it has an abundance, I'd say, of opportunities based on what I've been learning from these two guys who I'll be bringing out shortly. Now, in the meantime, feel free to say hi in the comments. We got from YouTube, we got my friend Ashwin in the house. Says, "Hey Dean, hope you're well." Hey, good to see you here, Ashwin. Always good to see you in the comments. And before I forget, make sure, folks, you are putting in your questions in the comments as we roll through today's discussion. All right, and make sure you hit me up with a like and a share as well. And for those of you tuning in for the first time, my name's Dina. I come from the IT recruitment industry. I've been in recruitment for over 8+ years. And every Wednesday, I come here live at 11 a.m. Eastern Time Zone to bring value to all of you folks out there. Shout out to everyone on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, tuning in. Always great to have everyone in here. And again, feel free to introduce yourself in the comments, and I'll keep checking in the comments. But without further ado, let me introduce my fantastic guests who are joining me today. We got Abiodun Oke and Wale Banjoko. And I've had the pleasure of interacting with these two guys, well, at least with Abiodun for a while. Wale is a new friend of mine, and we recently started interacting on this amazing clubhouse room that these guys run. It was started by Abiodun, and Wale is involved in it as well. So just a brief introduction. Again, my two guests today, we're going to be speaking about the supply chain industry. So Abiodun Oke is a coach, a mentor, an instructor, and a supply chain management consultant. He's very passionate about continuous improvement in professional development and business processes in the procurement, supply chain, and project management functions. He's the founder of Serial Project Services and the creator of the Supply Jobs Canada Network, a platform for mentoring and coaching foreign-trained supply chain professionals in Canada, assisting colleagues and budding professionals to get back into the supply chain management career since 2015. Folks, definitely highly encourage you guys to join the clubhouse room that Abiodun organizes. He does it every week without fail on Saturdays. And I'm going to have Abiodun talk more about that during the session, but it's definitely a room that you want to join. I've participated twice now, and it's just always an awesome discussion. My other guest is Wale, and Wale is an all-out entrepreneur, right? He's well-read with 2 MBAs in operations, finance, and marketing, and a master's in science in international business. Wale has experience managing global supply chains and has significant business ownerships in Nigeria, USA, and Canada. He's currently the COO of Certified Logistics Incorporated. He has extensive 3P partnerships with the Ondo state government in Nigeria to develop a smart city. Very exciting stuff. And is working with the city of Regina, Saskatchewan, and the government of Canada to end homelessness in North America by developing smart, permanent, supportive housing units. Wale also owns a fintech business that deals with savings for immigrant communities and cross-border money transfer as well. So, folks, without any further ado, make sure you give a warm welcome to my special guest today. How are you doing, Wale? Thank you so much, and so great to have you here on on the live stream with me.
Thank you, Dean. It's really a pleasure to be here. I've always been a follower of your show. So when you actually mentioned that, you would like to have us on, I was like so excited. Like finally.
Yeah, I know it's been a while because I know we chatted last. I think it was during the pandemic, and I wanted to be getting you on the show myself as well. So it's great to have you here.
Nice, nice.
Hi, Dean. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on the show. Um, I've just, I guess, been lucky to have, Biodun and also to meet Dean and also, the greater supply chain community. And yeah, it's exciting coming on the show to talk about supply chain. It's funny that with certified logistics, I segue between supply chain and recruiting. So it will be interesting to see how this show goes today.
Awesome, fantastic, and yeah, folks, for those of you watching, I mean, these two guys are just fantastic moderators and hosts. Make sure you join their clubhouse room, which they host every Saturday. But we'll talk about that more later on. We got some comments here. We got Robert, my friends, Robert Sabri in the house. Hey, Dean. Hey, Robert, good to have you here. We got someone, unfortunately, doesn't say their name, but they say, hi, Dean, Wale, and how are you doing? Good to have you here. And keep the comments coming, folks. And any questions you have about the supply chain industry and the career path, feel free to put in the comments. But I'm going to get right into today's segment. All right. And let's get right into the questions. Now, to kind of kick things off, let's just start with the basics. And I definitely want to hear from both of you guys, right? Can you provide a brief overview of what exactly the supply chain industry is?
Well, it is interesting that you already kind of gave a clue into what that really is, because when you really look at the industry itself, that supply chain, that's the easiest way to explain it to anybody who hasn't got anything to do with the word supply chain. I feel like the supply chain word is kind of a geeky word. Well,
Okay.
essentially, it is the industry. I mean, just talk about anything that we do in the industry. That is what supply chain is. I have been opportune to work in this industry for about 15 years. I started in Shell Petroleum back home in Nigeria, and that's actually how I got introduced. And the moment I had that opportunity, I never looked back. I had a degree in mechanical engineering, and I'm sure some of my colleagues would have been wondering what is going on with this guy? What is the supply chain thing? But I saw this coming about 15 years ago, and I decided this is it. So
Yeah.
supply chain basically has to do with all of the activity that leads towards providing services, products, and customers experience. And when we talk about that, there's a lot of things that are involved, which includes, as a professional, project management, contract administration, planning, and pretty much everything that you do in this industry to provide services, products, and customers experience is what supply chain is in a nutshell.
Yeah, and just to segue off of what Biodun said, when we talk about the industry, we can look at it as a process. So I'm a bit process oriented. And in supply chain, we talk about purchase to pay. We talk about, the end-to-end process, which basically is the rec to pay. Now, what that means is that if, say, for instance, a company wants to buy um, pencils or notebooks or whatever they want to buy, somebody says, I need this, and that person provides a requisition. Just like in recruiting, an hiring manager says, I need to hire an IT analyst. So it provides a rec to the sourcing team. So just similar, you have a rec, you provide a rec to the sourcer. Now, sourcing, it could be strategic sourcing, it could be just, off the internet sourcing. And then once the strategic sourcing is done, you say, okay, I found 4 or 5 candidates, or I found 4 or 5 items that match your description. And then the person that is, creating the requisition says, oh, you know what, of these 5 people, I think I'm interested in talking to these 3 people. If it's products, is like, I think I want to learn a bit more about these 3 products. Then you get what you call, if it's a chemical product, MSDS. If it's a mechanical product, the blueprint. And if it's a candidate, the resume. And then you forward the resumes to the person that did the rec, or to the hiring manager, and they say, okay, based on all these specifications, this is the person I want. And then it goes back to the supply chain team, or to the sourcing team, or to the hiring recruiting team, and they say, oh, this product is what I'm going to purchase. And so they go ahead to create an RFQ, get pricing, get all the blah 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 blah, the negotiations. Oh, this is what we are going to pay for this role. Are you comfortable with that? What is your experience like? How many have you supplied? What is the lead time? How long can you get this product in? Or in the case of hiring, what date can you come into this role? So do you need 2 weeks? Do you need 1 month? Do you need 6 weeks? Because we need this within this period. And then once you go through that process, you proceed to issue a purchase order, or you proceed to issue a job contract. Once that contract is accepted or signed, or the purchase order is accepted or signed, the product is supplied, or the staff begins work, and then you begin to pay salaries. In the case of supply chain, you ensure that the vendor is paid for the services. So that's the rec to pay process. So like Abiodun said, it's the industry. We just paralleled supply chain with recruiting right now.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Thanks so much, guys, for that overview. And I mean, from what you're saying, obviously, this is. I mean, it sounds like supply chain is something obviously that affects all of us, right? But I think the thing is that most of us don't really think about it, because it's to the rest of us, it's just behind the scenes kind of stuff going on, right?
Yeah,
and which brings me to my next question. Now, my focus is on recruiting in the IT industry, so my focus is always tech and IT and all this stuff. But when the pandemic happened, when COVID-19 occurred, that's when I started really paying more attention to supply chain, because I started hearing more about supply chain, constraints on the supply chain. Then we had that whole fiasco with the shortage of toilet paper going on, right? So then I started, pay more attention to this, right? So I guess my next question is, what were the effects of COVID-19 on the supply chain industry? And why has this resulted in an increase in awareness as well as, of course, opportunities in this industry?
Yeah, very interesting question. Honestly, I really like that question, because I, as a person or a professional who had practiced in this supply chain function, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about mentoring is that I've seen us as supply chain professional do a lot in the industry, but yet not recognized for it. And there's an interesting analogy that I used to use. And that analogy, it was like a prediction. And that prediction actually happened during COVID-19. Here is the analogy. I used to say that supply chain is like oxygen. And never even imagined that you needed it until it's no longer in supply. And that's really what happened in COVID-19. Literally, we were being staffed, or we were in shortage of oxygen in terms of the face mask, right?
Yeah.
Situation where people got sick from COVID-19, and then there is this need for supply of I've forgotten that particular thing they use, in respirator in the hospital to help keep these people alive, right? So this is really what we experienced during COVID-19, and it became apparent that something is not working. And of course, people who were going to the going to the stores for groceries actually that, so that actually was a time that everybody realized that what is going on here. As a matter of fact, my wife, we went to the store at one time, and my wife asked me, why is all these stores, why are they empty? I'm like, that's the first time I explained to her what I did. Like, well, there you have it.
Yeah.
It's what I do, like, things are not working is the reason why you don't see these things on the shelf. So what literally happened during COVID-19 was that people became aware that there are some guys who have always, and that is actually, it was actually a culture of the industry not to bring supply chain professional to the board where they can actually add value to what the organization is doing as a whole. So if there was anything that happened during COVID-19 and how it actually brought supply chain management to the fore, it was the fact that now the management at the board level realized that the supply chain function is strategic to their ability to actually deliver services and products to their customers. And then they started wondering, why are these guys not on at the board meetings? I mean, these
Yeah.
guys are supposed to be here to be able to tell us what we're supposed to be doing differently so that we can become much more competitive in the market. And if there was any company that has actually showcased the importance of supply chain and how it represented competitive advantage for the industry, that is Amazon.
Yeah,
Look at
absolutely.
Amazon today. It is a supply chain business, and it is a very, very strategic way that they now became the company that actually took advantage of the whole mess that was created during COVID-19. And that was a company and a leadership that recognized the importance of supply chain. And that's really what led them to even start leading the pack. Even when every other company is complaining of being shut down from lack of inventory and all of that, Amazon was doing wonders. They were even so confident that they could deliver within a day. It
Yeah.
was COVID-19. They even brought out that program. They I forgot the name of the program. It's because they know they have what it takes to deliver it. It is supply chain management.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on, Abiodun. So a key function in manufacturing that is at times missed in the supply chain circle is something called demand planning. Now, demand planning is a key part of the value chain because it's what leads a lot of companies to talk about JIT, or just in time inventory. So, in a situation where you have a company producing toilet paper, like you mentioned, a lot of the retailers that purchase toilet paper just want to buy enough to sell for a day or two. And then they get their trucks to bring another batch of toilet paper. Now, the reason why that has happened in the industry is because of something called the bullwhip effect. The bullwhip effect is a process, or a situation where a manufacturer says we need to produce 5 rolls of toilet paper, and then the salesperson says, hey, I know I can sell 10 rolls of toilet paper, so I'm going to tell the manufacturers to produce 10 rolls of toilet paper. And then the wholesalers, they say, hey, if they produce 10 rolls of toilet paper, I just got a new retailer on my books, I might actually need 15 rolls of toilet paper. So they say, you know what, I don't need 10, I need 15. And then the customers, the retailers are like, you know what, there are new customers buying toilet paper every day. Maybe I'm not going to be buying 3 of this 15 from my wholesaler. I'm probably going to be buying 5. And so the retailer makes the decision to increase the number of toilet paper or toilet paper rolls purchased from the wholesaler. The wholesaler increases what they need from the manufacturer, from the sales rep. The sales rep increases his request to the manufacturer. The manufacturer tells the demand guys, produce more toilet paper or create a schedule for more toilet paper production. So because of that effect, supply chains over the years came into what you call the just-in-time inventory. That when we need 5 rolls of toilet paper, that's what we're going to buy, that's what we're going to produce. Now, COVID-19 disrupted that whole process because now you have shelves that didn't have any toilet paper because they've always bought as needed. And people now started saying, you know what, even though we've always bought as needed, now we are going to buy more than what we need. And so it becomes a finance issue because now you're locking down money. You can't spend as much. You can't hire as much. And even the hiring is crazy right now because people are not even going back to work with the federal government incentives across the world, the UK, the US, Canada. Everybody's just throwing money at people. And so there is a hiring crisis. There is a production crisis. There's a manufacturing crisis. There's a shipping crisis, logistics, with docks, with lines and rows of ships there. And even to get containers that would deliver products. It's a nightmare. So COVID-19 has really shown the value of the supply chain roles, and that's why even in IT you have people looking for demand analysts now, because they want to understand what the customers are thinking on the IT side, whether it's a SaaS startup or it's a fintech, whatever it is. How do we make sure that whatever we are doing affects the end users from the demand standpoint and from the use standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, great points, and yeah, just like you guys are both saying, I mean, I definitely agree that at least as myself, someone who's outside of your industry, I don't know much about supply chain. COVID-19 definitely made me pay more attention to supply chain. Like this is where I think it brought the industry more into the spotlight, into the limelight. Whereas before, like I said before, it was more behind the scenes, right? Only people in supply chain knew what was going on and the whole processes and all that stuff. Now, and obviously, this has just like you mentioned, Wale, this has created a lot of challenges and constraints and a whole bunch of stuff. Now, let's talk a bit about recruiting and hiring in the supply chain industry. So, my question is, what challenges as well as opportunities do you both see has the pandemic put in the way of hiring processes and recruitment in the supply chain industry?
Abiodun, you are muted. I'll let Abiodun take that because I've been a little far removed from the hiring process in supply chain for a while, because I've done a lot of the hiring, but I'll probably segue off what Abiodun will say.
All right,
Right.
sounds
So, Dean, if I hear you well, you asked what are the challenges that arose from the COVID-19 situation as far as HR or hiring is concerned,
yeah, challenges first, and also
and
also opportunities as
opportunities.
well. Yeah.
So, of course, when it came to challenges, even before COVID-19, we've had issues in supply chain. It's just that it hasn't really been apparent just because nobody was paying attention, right? But those challenges were strictly the fact that we did not have skilled supply chain professionals, experienced supply chain professionals that could actually deliver the type of strategic implementations that are required for the success of supply chain programs. So I was actually involved. This is when I started Surya Projects. I actually started exploring the challenges that foreign trade professionals had, gaining experience in their gaining opportunities or getting hired even when they had 20 years experience, 15 years experience. So what I started doing was basically posting these opportunities. But then something happened. I realized that really the jobs are there.
Mhm.
It's really missing is the skilled people that could actually take on these roles, because you will realize that there were some challenges that then started showing up post COVID-19. One of the things that happened was that we realized that our supply chain is actually broken. It is
Wow.
only broken from the aspects of the business processes, which everybody knows that there was a time when ERP was introduced, enterprise resource planning tools, to help with the business processes aspects of it, whereby IT is integrated to help with visibility, right? Like end-to-end supply chain, just like Wally explained earlier. We could see what is happening throughout, right from the sourcing aspects of our supply chain up onto even the customers of customers. So that was one key business process challenges we had that started even prior to COVID-19, but ERP was then used to actually help with that. But even with that, it hasn't really helped. We know a lot of organizations that actually invested millions of dollars in ERP implementation, and then they realize that, guess what? It is not really about the technology. It's about, do we have people who can actually help with improving these business processes, that we can now put the IT layer on top of it. That is
Mhm.
the business architecture itself. is the cause of some of the issues that we're having. That was even prior to COVID-19. But towards COVID-19, some other challenges appeared where we realized that, well, guess what? JIT is no longer working just because this leverage of global sourcing that we had, that we can just use labor arbitrage to get stuff from China because they have cheaper labor and then they can deliver within a short time. And that is no longer working apparently from COVID-19. But given all of these challenges, we were having some type of what you will call soul searching in supply
Mm.
chain, where we realize that the way we have actually been looking at things, these things I'm talking about things that happened over several years, even way back to 1960s. So, but of course, it came to a climax when COVID-19 happened. So we're now seeing a situation where it is not just about an organization being profitable and all of that, because this is all what drove all this going to China and the rest of it. But how about the resources that are not renewable, that we are depleting, that is causing the climate change challenges? There are issues with sustainability or lack of sustainability in our industry just because we haven't really paid attention. So there are a lot of all of these things that is going on, and we need talents. We
Yeah.
need talents in our industries that can help us to actually navigate all of these emerging challenges, from the IT aspects of it, the implementation of these technologies in a way that it can actually align with our company's objectives, the sustainability aspects of it. Can we have people who are actually talented in these areas? The sensing, actually, the volatility issues, resilience of our industries, responding to the new volatility of our business environment, like cybersecurity issues,
Yeah.
just mentioning. So all of this thing is actually moving us now into a new era of supply
Mm.
chain that we call the need for us to digitize our supply chain to help us with visibility. And what does this mean for us? It means that there's a huge gap even in the talent that we have currently in our supply chain to be able to support the organizational requirements to be more competitive by applying supply chain management and every other things around all the fringes of functions around supply chain. So we have a huge gap here. But what does this mean for us? It also means opportunities
Mm.
for folks in IT who can transition into supply chain technology implementation, for folks who are skilled in organizational aspects of things, who can actually apply their experience in planning to demand and supply planning to address such issues that Wale has explained earlier to help us with visibility in our supply chain. I could go on and on, but you get the idea here. There's
Yeah.
a huge opportunity right now in supply chain for anyone. And the advantage here is that if you had any industry experience, it is applicable to supply chain management because of its industry foundation, right?
Just to add
Right.
1 or 2 points, supply chain, the supply chain crisis is really an identity crisis. I remember a few years ago, Abiodo and I were talking, and I'm like, "See, one of the challenges we have with supply chain is we have put supply chain function in a lot of companies under the finance function. And so finance is so important in the operations of a business. And when you put supply chain under finance, it becomes which is more important. Supply chain
Mm.
talks about value chain analysis, cost savings along the value chain, and how you can translate revenue from a corporate strategy level where price leading. Like Bjorn said, you can go to China and produce leading price when you go to the market, and then that gives you market share. Now, that is a supply chain process, but it's also a finance process, because then the finance guys will say, oh, we are forecasting that in 2023 we are going to earn X amount off of our sales because we have projected that our production is going to come at this amount, our sales is at this amount, and because we are price leaders, we take 20% off the cost we are pushing to the market, but we're still making 85%. So
Mm.
because of these two similar functions, but different pathways. Finance is a lot more, forecast, budgeting, source revenue. Supply chain also has those bits, because when you are doing your sourcing, you are saying, hey, for instance, in the hiring point of view, somebody is saying I want 85,000. The guy is saying, nope, I can't give more than 70,000 for this role. It's the same thing. A vendor says I can produce in 7 days for $5,000, and you are saying, well, I have somebody else that can produce in 3 days for $3,000. So the identity of what supply chain is it a singular function? Is it a combined function? That has led to the crisis. So when we now translate it to IT, IT has a lot of process oriented projects. If it can be well oriented, if it can be well defined as it segues or intersects between IT and supply chain, then you find that a lot of the relatable experience from supply chain can be translated. Because of my experience in supply chain, when I started my fintech, especially the money transfer, I thought from the supply chain side, can there be arbitrage? Can I work with the network that I have and say, hey, instead of moving money country to country and pay these fees, can you domicile the money in your country? I domicile the money in this country. We just do exchange country to country. So again, it's a supply chain process, but translated to money transfer.
Wow, I mean that's it's fascinating, I just feel like there's so much. I mean these challenges, these difficulties. I think they must be creating so many opportunities within this industry, like for career opportunities. Which brings me to my next question: what kind of or can you provide a brief overview of the kind of career paths which do lie within supply chain? And also, before we get into that, I just wanted to so Ashwin, I see your question in the comments. I'm going to get to your question shortly, but let's kind of open up the discussion with again, some of the career paths which lie within supply chain? If you guys can talk about that, I think that would be very helpful for the viewers as well. Oh, Abidun, you're on mute. Let me either, yeah, you can unmute yourself. There you
Okay,
go.
sounds good. Yeah, so I'm getting used to the stream thing, eh?
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to the career path, I mean, the career path amazingly is very broad in supply chain. There supply chain has some background history to it. Gain functions from pretty much being a logistics function from the beginning, just moving physical products, right? And then there has been other functions that became part of supply chain as supply chain matured in the industry.
Mhm.
So several other functions started growing into now what we call supply chain. Things like planning is a huge part of what we do in supply chain. So if you're somebody who had some type of organizational skill sets or planning experience, you could fit right into that. Maybe you are more of a strategic person in your function, you are in change management, project just mention it. There's really nothing that doesn't fit into supply chain. But having said that, there are some clearly functional aspects of supply chain that we can call primary functions. So
Mhm.
this would be operations, or production planning and control. This will be procurement. This will be sourcing. Okay. This will be category management. Um, I can't go into the details for now, but maybe if the time
Yeah.
we have more time, we can go into the details what these things entails. There are engineering folks who are involved in things that we call production control and planning. We also have folks who are involved more into the supplier relationship management of it. Interestingly, supply chain has so much in common with human resources.
Right.
You talk about the supply relationship management aspects of it. It's kind of similar to, you have hired somebody, then you still need to have some type of ongoing relationship with them to measure their performance, to
Yeah.
make sure whatever they're doing aligns with your projects and with your programs. That is supplier relationship management. And sometimes we could call it vendor management. We could call it supplier development programs. So the kind of things or projects that we engage with in our supply chain to ensure that we're continuously improving and we're delivering customers product services to the customers, basically to make our customers happy. So the interesting, the fun thing about supply chain is you're always on your toes, because as defined in the area of quality management, that's also one area that you
Mhm.
can basically specialize in. Customer quality is defined by our customer. So if our customer says they are no longer happy, then we're supposed to adjust our processes and then so redefine their requirements, and then try to see how we can move it into improvement projects so that we can keep making our customers happy. And you see, an example that I've always really given is Amazon. They so
Yeah,
much perfected supply chain that you wonder. And look at the background of the person who founded Amazon, not supply
yeah,
chain. So
yeah, yeah.
that is one interesting thing that people need to know, that no matter what background you have already, be it IT, HR, project management, you fit right perfectly into what is going on in supply chain as a function in our organization.
Awesome, awesome, awesome insights there. Wale, did you want to
One
add anything? Yeah.
Yeah, one point if I think Abiodun forgot to mention, which I think he has a lot of experience in, is the SAP materials management backend support for supply chain. So there's a lot of business analysis functions within the supply chain career fields where you can take a problem from the operational point of view and design solutions on the back end to create ERP or interface like solutions that people can look at and say, okay, this is the disconnect. Okay, I've created an IT solution, or I've written a program to fix that disconnect, and then I'm connecting it back and creating a solution. So supply chain is very broad, and I think Biodun has mentioned a lot of the career paths within supply chain that leads, and project management also is another broad career path within supply chain. So I'll just leave it at that. Taking cognizance of our time also.
Okay, fantastic. I mean, clearly, I mean, it's a very exciting and interesting field, and then there's so many opportunities, as you guys are saying. Now, we got a question from Ashwin on YouTube. So Ashwin says, "Hello, Wale and Abidun. Nice to meet you. I will be moving to Canada next year. I have two questions. I wanted to know, how is the supply chain industry for newcomers? And the second question is, I have an MBA degree in supply chain but never got the chance to work in one. What should I focus on when I'm switching into supply chain as a fresher and get into the job market?" Oh, Abidun, you're on mute. Let me unmute you
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you have to remind me of the first question, and maybe
Yeah,
we could
sure,
take.
sure. So first question is, I wanted to know, how is the supply chain industry for newcomers?
Okay. Well, you happen to be speaking to the right person when it concerns the supply chain industry for newcomers, because our Supply Jobs Canada network is actually focused on that. One thing I can tell you already is that, based on my own work with a lot of foreign professionals who come into Canada with supply chain experience, the opportunities are there. I'm telling you, we publish lots of roles every day. Like, there are some organizations that are expanding because of this COVID-19 thing, especially in the logistics environment, and they are posting every day. And the fact that they are posting every day shows one thing, that they're not really filling these roles you
Mm.
know so the opportunities are out there for sure in supply chain for any newcomer, but there's a but there. The experience that you're bringing from your home country may not directly translate into those opportunities. And I've always told people the reason is not because your experience doesn't count. If you hear anybody saying it that your Canadian your experience from outside doesn't count, discount that comment. What is going on here is that when you left your home country, you cut off your social capital or your social networks. And when you come into Canada, you have to build it back. And that's what actually gives you access to the opportunities that will bring you back into your profession. The paperwork is not going to do it, like writing fancy resumes and all of that. You can try that, but a lot of us who have tried it here to only just focus on throwing random applications online, we've seen that we're just hitting our heads against the wall. The way to navigate is to build back up your social capital. And this is the reason why we have created our network, so that when you come in here, you plug right away into our network and you're connected with hundreds of other supply chain professionals who can help you to be able to understand how to navigate and then become also part of the industry here in Canada, regardless of what country you're coming from. So that's how I'll answer that first question.
Yeah, great response there. And also, Ashwin, I would highly recommend you join Abiyadun and Wale's clubhouse room, which happens every Saturdays. And we'll get more details about that at the end of the session. But that's also a great resource for you to start rolling the ball in networking and building that social capital, which is so important. The second part of Ashwin's question was, I have an MBA degree in supply chain, but never got the chance to work in one. What should I focus on when I'm switching into the supply chain as a fresher and get into the job market?
Okay, maybe I'll take that one. Because Ashwin has a follow-up comment where he says, currently I'm into project management, and indeed a lot of planning and scheduling of projects is involved in my current role. I was wondering if this can help me build a stronger profile for supply chain management. Ashwin, you are already doing supply chain management, because if you're doing planning, you're doing scheduling, that's a demand function. And the planning and scheduling you're doing on the project management side means that you're not only planning and scheduling for manufacturing, if that's what your organization does. It also means that you're looking at costs for projects. You're looking at you have vendors you relate with on a project. You have project teams you either manage or are a part of. When I say project teams, it means you have engineers, you have the production manager, you have the floor manager, you have the shop supervisors, and at times you have the human resource person, because there might be times where you need a role to be filled and you need somebody on the project team to say, oh, okay, we have the manufacturing engineer, but we need a maintenance engineer also on this project. So you already have the experience within supply chain. You already work in a supply chain function. But like Abiodun said, what you need to now start doing is building your social capital.
Mhm.
And that, like we said, come on the supply chain jobs network, start meeting with people in the industry in Canada, become an active participant, become an active collaborator, speak, answer questions when we have questions in the clubhouse, come on for mock interviews, be visible, let people understand what you do, who you are, and kind of understand the kind of knowledge you have in supply chain. Because when push comes to shove, and there's a role that needs to be filled, at times people will reach out to people they've spoken to or they've met socially, and that could be a good opportunity for you to really show people that, hey, I might be in India or in Pakistan or in Nigeria. I know what this is. I do it every day, and I can excel in Canada. Um,
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, and I really like how you guys both mentioned this whole thing about social capital, because I know as an IT recruiter, I always get IT professionals in other countries reaching out and asking if I can help them with job opportunities. And typically, as a recruiter, like, we're usually expected to find people already in Canada. But one of the things I always say is, look, before you even land here, start building your network, start networking with people, start connecting with people, build a relationship, so that by the time you come here, you have a strong power base of network that you can really reach out to and connect with. So Ashwin, great question there. Hope that helped. Now moving along, let's and this is more so for our IT viewers, since I mentioned the IT professionals out there. So Abidun and Wale, can you speak about what relationship exists between IT and supply chain, and what opportunities are there within supply chain which are IT professionals who might be watching this and they're like, wow, I mean, it sounds like supply chain is a great industry. How can I leverage my tech skills and bring this into the supply chain industry? So what advice would you have for the people out there in that situation?
Okay, this is an interesting part of it because I'm actually somebody who s- got stuck, or I would say I got sold into supply management, supply chain management, because I was into fixing computers when I was at the university. So when I got in, my first role as a contract administrator was at Shell Petroleum. That period, ERP was still kind of a new thing, like in the industry, enterprise resource planning tool. And when I saw that, I kind of saw the future of supply chain.
Mm,
And when I saw that, I thought, okay, this is it. I already could see what's going to happen in this profession in like 10 years or 15 years. And I want to be part of this. That's actually what got me to stay through till today in supply chain. So, in terms of the opportunity for those in IT, everything that we do in supply chain, the success of it or the effectiveness of it actually now relies on the implementation of technology. As a matter of fact, there's a professor, Michael Potters, I think Harvard's university professor, who actually created a model for supply chain. And one of the secondary uh, aspects of supply chain is actually information technology deployment. So just so you know that IT already is a part of our supply chain. But usually there's a challenge, and I think Adewale spoke to that already. There's a challenge in like when you have this identity crisis in supply chain where there are so many things that are involved in it and people kind of get lost in the process, even the geeky name of supply chain. IT is really part of what we do.
mm,
And when you look at the emerging future of supply chain as we speak today, based on all of the challenges we've talked about earlier, one of the core areas that is going to launch supply chain to its next phase is actually information technology, as you would already know. So when we
mm.
talk about all these emerging technologies like Internet of Things, like what's the other one called now? Blockchains. Blockchain
Blockchain,
is
yeah.
actually being used to implement supply chain business model that are global and are secure and also I've forgotten what decentralized supply
Mm.
chain. I actually worked on a project with some colleagues who are trying to build a blockchain for and they're here. What is it called now? These weeks in Africa,
Oh,
right?
right. Okay,
So
okay.
this week they want to be able to track this wig all the way from the source so that
Wow.
there is authenticity and you know that what you are buying is actually authentic and it's not just some synthetic product that they're selling to you. And then also there are other aspects of it and its own blockchain that this actually could be implemented. And guess who is responsible for making sure that this technology solution works? The IT folks. I work with some guys who are basically consultants in these aspects of supply chain, like applying blockchain technologies and ERPs and all of this. So I work with quite a number of consultants when I worked on that project. So there is this also emerging opportunities in the aspects of business architectures, supply chain architectures. You could actually focusing in on that, and we have quite a number of people who have IT background who are super focused on this area. And for me also, that is actually the part that I've chosen in implementing technology for our supply chain so that will become more effective, more transparent, and we could also achieve some of the we could also resolve some of the challenges that we have currently in supply. So when it comes to IT, honestly, that is the next phase. The next phase that we have in supply chain right now, which we called there's one particular word for it. Basically, is a self-regulating supply chain that would
Mm.
involve automation. You know, when we talk about the
Right.
challenges of buying in China and then bringing it to, we know what happened. we lost all the job opportunities in North America. But to really get back into a place now we can become more efficient, we then need to bring back these factories. But guess how they are coming back? They are coming back as robots. It's not going to be human beings, and that's how North American can actually get back on track where they've lost, all the opportunities and jobs. And this will create new type of jobs, even in supply chain. That will be so exciting. Different job titles we never saw before are going to be emerging. One of the ones that we currently see is business analytics, of course, or data analytics. So we have that going on right now. So I'm going to leave it.
Okay, sounds good. I think we lost you on the video, Abidun. Maybe
Okay, just a second.
no problem. Wale, is there anything you want to add to that, or did Abidun kind of cover?
Yeah, I think he covered almost the end to end. But if we look at it from an international business standpoint, North America, some countries in Europe, and Singapore are defined as innovation-driven economies. And innovation-driven economies, one of the what gives them competitive advantage or comparative advantage is the ability to innovate when there's a problem. And where Abiodun ended was the IT side of supply chain, or the robotics part of supply chain that is going to start coming into the fore. There's a particular vessel, I think it's called Symphony of the Seas. It's like a cruise ship, and they have this robotic bartender. It seems like they've put one bartender or two bartenders out of work, but guess what? Because they have two robotic arms mixing different juices and stuff, then suddenly you have people that are doing demand planning for those robotics. You have two or three people that are watching when the bottles get empty to refill them, and you have a few people managing the tray where the bottles, the cups of juice or whatever, margaritas or martinis, slide on. So as you create innovation around the problem, you're saying, okay, I don't want to pay somebody 150,000 to produce toilet paper. Maybe I'm using a robot to produce the toilet paper in the US or in Canada, but then I need to hire people to manage those robots. So as IT implements decentralized supply chain systems, you have people running or managing those systems within the supply chain field. Is kind of what I'm just going to add.
Okay, fantastic. And going back to what Abidun was saying about IT and supply chain. I mean, it sounds like if it hasn't already, it's becoming a very symbiotic, codependent relationship there. So I think that'll create a lot of opportunities for all of you folks in IT out there as well. We have a comment from someone who says AI automation and demand sensing is also another way IT folks can work in supply chain. So that's some excellent additional information there. So I know we have about a couple of minutes left. So before we wrap it up, can both of you, Abidun and Wale, can you let the viewers know about your weekly clubhouse room, and who should join, and what can people expect by participating in your sessions? And I shared a link in the comments for the Supply Chain Canada network as well.
Excuse me. So, our weekly clubhouse is just a group of supply chain professionals, and at times IT professionals, at times organizational management professionals. And we basically just talk and share experience. We're not there to to force or enforce. We're just there to share. Share the trends in the supply chain industry. Maybe somebody discovers in their workplace they're having a challenge with sourcing, and they need some support to reach out to us and just say, hey, this is what I experienced in my former role or my current role. How do I resolve this problem? So we are just a group of guys and girls that just share, just talk about supply chain. We're passionate about it. We see there's a future in supply chain, and we're just building a strong network. And we are saying we want an identity. We no longer want to be, oh, is supply chain a finance function, or is it an engineering function? Is it an IT function? no, supply chain is a value chain function, and we're building a team to show that. I think supply chain will probably have, if not a million, 2, 3 million professionals across the world, and we're trying to build a network that captures that number and says this is who we are, this is what we do, and that's what we really do every week. Every week we have different topics, we have different things we capture, but the underlying um the underbelly of the whole thing is networking really, and reaching out.
And if I can just add, folks, for those of you watching, highly recommend you join this room. I've been invited to as a speaker to share my perspective as a recruiter on 2 occasions, and it's just an amazing discussion. Just hearing the amount of value and sharing that happens in this group, it's just such a great group to be a part of. So I highly recommend anyone out there. And by the way, Clubhouse is now not iPhone only. It's open to Android users and iPhone users alike. And you don't need an invite either. So make sure you download the Clubhouse app on your phone and look up these guys. They have a fantastic room which they run every week, and tons of value. And every now and then I'll pop in as well to chime in and share my perspective as a recruiter. But highly recommend this group. You're going to learn so much about the supply chain industry. I know I have personally learned a lot just from the few times I've been on there. Abidun, did you want to add anything about the group?
Yeah, our group is a group of foreign trained professionals, and you know what? We have very highly skilled and experienced professionals. And the fun thing is that we also have them across Canada. So when we talk about social capital, building your social capital back up, we mean it. We're talking about professionals from every segment of Canada that are able to connect with you once you land here in Canada. So that's what I would like to add to that. Thanks, Dean.
Awesome. And also, finally, if you like, how about the people watching who maybe they have more questions, they're more curious to learn about the supply chain industry? What is the best way for people to connect with both of you gentlemen? And what is the best way to connect with you or follow you on social media as well?
Yeah, for me, I'm very active on LinkedIn, Twitter, and of course on the Clubhouse. If you go to our Clubhouse, which is Supply Jobs Canada, or Supply Chain Jobs, just type Supply Chain Jobs in Clubhouse, and then you'll be able to connect with us. And for those who are supply chain professionals who are from other countries and where they're looking and exploring supply chain professions in Canada here, just click on that link that Gina shared earlier, and you will be in direct contact with us that way, which is even more awesome.
Awesome, fantastic. Wale, how about you? The best way to connect with you for people who want to network with you or connect with you, LinkedIn, or what's the best way?
LinkedIn, Clubhouse, and the Supply Jobs Canada network. So talking about segueing between IT and supply chain, the Supply Jobs Canada network is a social media type network that we're creating for supply chain professionals, um as a start. So it's you can send us chat messages on that. You can reach out to us, you can ask questions and tag us, and we'll see it if you tag us to respond. So yeah.
Awesome, fantastic. And yeah, folks, for those of you watching, I did drop a link in the comments for more information about this amazing group. So check out the comments if you or if you're watching the replay, just look in the comments and you should find the link to check out more information. Now, before we wrap up the session, any final tips or words of advice that you both have, like job search tips or advice for people out there that are looking to get in the industry? Maybe they want to transition into the industry. Maybe they're brand new to the industry, or maybe it's an experienced supply chain professional. They want to take the next step in their career. Any final words of wisdom or advice for everyone out there?
So Biodo, let me just quickly go. So I reached out to you, Dean, like a week or so ago, and I'm like, you know what, I've done with certified logistics. Actually, on LinkedIn, I changed from CO to hiring manager because I've probably done like 1,000 interviews in the last 2 years or more. And
That's
I'm like,
amazing.
I really enjoy recruiting. I didn't know I'd enjoy it that much till I started owning my own businesses. And I've one of the things I do with owning with my businesses is I put in a structure in place, and once that structure sits, I become almost useless.
Mhm.
And since we got very active on Clubhouse, I've become very interested in either working in supply chain again, or if I have an opportunity to start hiring. I mean, I don't mind starting as an entry level recruiter. It doesn't matter to me as long as I start, gaining that experience again, and I start getting useful rather than just, I have my manager call me, and he says, "Hey, Wally, we want to purchase XYZ," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll speak with this vendor and then I'll refer them to you." It's almost like I'm not doing any work anymore.
Mhm.
And so for anybody, that what I'll say is reach out, let people
Mhm.
know what you're looking for, build your network, tell them what you need. Abiodun is also actively searching for roles for me. He knows I prefer remote roles because I'm more effective that way. But I've not found anything yet. But you know what? If you tell me tomorrow, Wale, there's an entry level recruiting opportunity with Tech Recruiters 360, I'm going to jump on it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter where you start from, just start.
Yeah. Great advice there. Totally agree with that. I'll be doing any final words of wisdom.
Can you hear me, Dean?
Yeah. Yeah. We can hear you.
Okay, great. I had some technical issues here. Technology for you, right? So we need a lot of people in this area also to
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
So basically, I think if there's any advice that I can give to anyone who is listening here, especially if you are foreign trained in Canada, you have to break through the paperwork barriers. One thing I found out that is that we've been taught a lot in school about how to job search, but we are now in an environment, especially a business environment, that is socially connected, and you cannot afford just to be stuck with throwing paperwork,
Yeah.
because the result will be, let's just say, good luck, you know.
Yeah.
But if you really want to, you know, get results, you have to reach out to people, and
Yeah.
you have to know how to do it the right way. And I know I follow Dean. I see his post every time, and you know what? I don't really know who is, really being so powerful and helpful like Dean when it comes to getting out there. This guy gets out there, all the platforms, honestly. Just like Dean is everywhere. So and that's part of what you have to do. You have to add value. You have to showcase your value proposition, and that's when people start reaching out to you. When you go beyond just the paperwork, that's what I would like to drop with anyone listening today. Thanks so much for
Fantastic,
the opportunity.
fantastic advice there, Abidun. And I totally agree with you, right? I mean, job searching, it's not just the paperwork and the resume and just pressing submit. Like, there's a whole strategy behind it, and that's one of the things I really like about your clubhouse room is that you guys talk about real practical strategies that apply in the real world. So again. Reminder, folks, make sure you look these guys up on Clubhouse. Supply Chains Canada is the name of the Clubhouse room. And again, check out the link I dropped in the comments for more information, and make sure you participate in their events and in all the opportunities that you'll have to learn from both of these guys. Abidun, Wale, thank you so much for spending an hour with me today. You shared so much great information and advice. I look forward to definitely doing this in the future and collaborating with you guys more in the future as well about the supply chain industry. But thank you so much for your time and sharing all the knowledge and wisdom you did today.
Thanks so much,
Thanks,
Dean.
thanks,
It's a
Dean.
pleasure to be here.
Thanks for inviting us, Dean. It's a pleasure to actually share, and it's a joy to share.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Anyway, it's great having you guys on the show. So thanks so much again, guys, for tuning in. So for those of you folks who are still on, make sure you tune in every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone to join me for my live streams. Hope everyone got great value out of today's session where we spoke about supply chain, the supply chain industry, and building a career in this very exciting space. And make sure you check out Abiodun and Wale on their clubhouse room, as well as feel free to connect with both of these guys on LinkedIn. They're very open to new connections and connecting with other people. And if you want to follow me on my other social channels to see what I'm up to, feel free to check out my link tree. It's linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter. linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter. I'm always posting all sorts of job search tips and advice on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok as well. So any way I can help you, feel free to connect with me and let me know if there's any way I can help. If you're an IT professional in the Greater Toronto area, definitely make sure you send me a connection request or send me a direct message, and let's connect. Let's get in communication. And it's all about putting yourself out there, making yourself more visible, so that you can get in front of the right people. And if there's any way I can help any of you tech professionals out there in the Greater Toronto area, I'll definitely do my best to help. All right. Hey, thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. And I hope to see you again next week, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone on Wednesdays. And I'm gonna see about getting more interesting and amazing guests in the future as well for these sessions. All right. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. I'm going to end the session now. Everyone, have a fantastic week. All right. Take care.